And welcome to Stoked Season 1, Episode 11. This is the show on the internet about Star Trek Online, which of course is probably amazing. My name is Brian. Next to me is Jeremy.
That's me.
And over there, way on the other side, is Chris.
Hey there, Brian.
So
I love how ridiculous that entire intro was.
did you?
Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah, you bet.
That was all for you, big guy. All right, so we've got a big show today. A big show.
All right, I
That's
can't take it anymore.
Let's get the big part out of the way first.
Yeah.
Most of you probably have heard this already.
Everybody knows about this one, but we've got an official release date.
We would be remiss if we did not cover the release date. Chris, what is the release date of Star Trek Online?
If you're in the United States or perhaps our friends to the north in Canada, you're going to get Star Trek Online on February 2nd. The rest of the world will get it on...
Perhaps in Canada, if you behave yourselves with all of your whatnots and the stone on
Maple
the ice
syrup
that you're sweeping in front of it.
That's
like
curling, Brian. That's called curling.
I think it's called retarding is what
All
it's
right.
called.
And then in the rest of the world,
you guys got to
get
behave
it on,
is what I'm saying.
You're going to get it on the 5th, but you
On the
probably already
5th.
knew that. So,
Yeah. So the Americans and us over here, we get a head start on you. So we're going to all be admirals by the time you even buy the game.
They're probably all going to be, but in order to make it up to them, Cryptic's probably going to bring them all into the beta before us. So,
Dude, probably.
it's all fair.
I'm never getting into that beta.
And then we've also got the system specs, right?
Yes, we do.
So why don't we cover real quick off the top just the minimum requirements you're going to need
I think that's a really good idea, Chris.
Yeah.
All right, well, you're going to need to be running a Windows operating system, Windows 7, Vista, or XP.
That means no Mac client.
No Mac client.
Stop asking.
And we don't know yet about the Xbox 360 client either.
No, wait. So there's been no word at all on the 360 client?
Well, the last word that we got was that the game runs on the 360. Actually,
That's the last word for Champions, I thought, as well.
oh, that might be.
Because Champions Online was supposed to launch for the 360 already.
The rumor mill basically is telling us that the problems with getting both of these games released on consoles has to do with the behind-the-scenes financial side of things, basically.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah, that maybe Microsoft and or Sony want too big a cut of the pie.
Because honestly, I mean, with the way I don't really like sitting down and typing in chat. You know what I mean? I'm not big into that in MMOs. I like to do voice chat with my buddies.
Yeah,
but man, if I could get this on the 360 with my 360 headset,
But the problem is
that would be so perfect.
It's going to look better on the PC.
But
It
that's
is.
okay, as long as the game plays. And you know what? The game will probably play better on the 360. You know
I
what
believe
I mean?
it's already been confirmed that the 360 controller will have full support within the game as well. So
well, you can already do like
can play the
Champions
game.
Online. You can play with the 360 controller now.
Yeah,
So,
so
you
there's
could
no
you
reason.
could play on the PC with the
Yeah.
360 controller.
Yeah, which I kind of plan to do if I can get my hands on one.
It looks like a game that'll play well with it. We'll get into that at a later time.
We'll
All right,
review
continue
that,
with the
yeah.
system specs.
All
for
right,
now.
so you need to have a minimum of a Intel Core 2 Duo 1.8 gigahertz or an AMD Athlon X2 3800.
So you need a machine built in the last like 2 years.
2 or 3 years,
Yeah, it's not too bad.
1 gig of memory, a NVIDIA 7 series, NVIDIA 7000 series, or an ATI X1800 series.
A minimum of
Yeah,
1 gig of
mid
memory.
range,
or an Intel HD
fancy.
graphics card. Yeah,
Wait.
but you can get 1 gig of memory for $25.
Now the Intel
know.
HD graphics card. Now what all does that include? Is that like
That's an onboard chipset.
I believe that is the
GMA series?
No, one step up from the GMA.
It's the one step up. Okay.
So like people with the X series Intel graphics.
But still,
I
with
gotcha.
those minimum requirements, you could probably go down to Best Buy or Fry's or something and buy a pre-made system
Pretty
for
cheap.
For nothing.
$400-500
Pocket-lint.
tops.
yeah,
And meet the minimum specs.
I'm gonna say Pocket-lint at this point.
And then of course on the high end, if you really want to enjoy it,
or you can sell your body for it.
you'll need to have a nicer Intel, like Intel E8400 Core 2 series or an Athlon 5600 Plus series, 2 gigs of memory, GeForce 8800, which is, you can get
nothing.
8800 for
That's like a $35 card right now.
you can get it for real cheap.
Yeah.
And then again a DirectX 9.
So even
and
the
8
high-end
gigs.
requirements are still not like you're not going to have to go out and drop
mean,
several thousand
they're not
on a
that
new
bad,
machine.
no.
I mean, even if you
No.
now if you do have a Mac and you want to like boot camp and dual boot into Windows, it's probably not going to work because I think Macs don't have video cards that were made in the last 10 years. So I think you're out of luck there.
That's probably
But
not
you
true.
probably need to buy a PC, an actual what they call a personal computer. I don't know if you've heard what that acronym stands for. If you own a Mac, but a PC is probably the way to go on this front.
All right. So we've got those
He's
are
wrong.
some
Boot camp will probably work.
those are some official details we've actually
Shut
gotten. They're
Jeremy.
big ones. We've got a release date, we've got system specs.
Yeah.
Those are big deals.
Essentially, if you can run Champions today, you're going to run this game.
that
fine.
kind of makes it real, though. You know what I mean?
It does,
That
right.
kind of like makes it sink home that this is really happening.
It's coming. It's coming.
And then the third piece of big news kind of puts it off into that dream realm again because they have announced to us that we will have bridge interiors.
We're going to have bridge
At
interiors,
launch.
and kind of
What?
what we kind of know at this point is it sounds like there's going to be 20 bridge interiors to choose from, and you're going to use the bridge not so much as like a gameplay mechanic at first, but more as like a
Right.
social gathering
So
area.
it's like Twitter.
You chillax. It's like the PlayStation Home,
Like PlayStation Home, okay.
where you go in, or Second Life.
Now to be
Second
fair,
Life and Star Trek Online.
Second Life and PlayStation Home are kind of dumb.
Yeah.
How do I say this without
I look at
offending
this
everyone
as-
who likes PS3s
I look at this more
and
of like
Second Life?
as the first step towards player housing, which has been incorporated into several MMOs over the
but
years.
how do you have player housing in a Star Trek game? It's your ship already.
By letting people be in
Well,
your
I mean, we already
ship.
have the captain's quarters, right?
Well,
so.
I don't think that that's been confirmed.
It was discussed. I
Yeah,
know.
that was the last
But
we
is
heard
that
was
not-
that was in the noodling stages.
You want to hear the
Oh, I
official
do like
quote?
noodles. Yeah, bring it on me.
Your
Bring it on
feedback
me.
was
That's
really
not a
clear
real
to us.
phrase. Bring
Being
it on
able
me.
to
What does
walk
that mean?
inside your ship is a crucial piece of the Star Trek experience. With that in mind, you'll be able to walk around your bridge at launch. Your bridge will be a social area where you and your
Hmm.
friends can meet to talk about plans for future missions or reminisce about heroic deeds that you've already completed. We hope you enjoy it as soon as you be playing Star Trek Online in February.
Yeah,
I'm
that's from the AP post.
I'm actually really looking forward to it because when I've been watching the gameplay footage, I've felt this disconnect between like there's a little ship and it's doing stuff. I beam down to the planet, I see myself, and then I go back into my little ship. And now this bridge
Yeah.
is going to kind of bridge that gap between just this.
Bridge the gap.
Whoa.
The bridge bridges the gap
Do you
between
think
like
that
this
was intentional?
weird, disconnected.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, you bet.
Oh man.
Yeah.
They probably named the bridges bridges for this game just because of that.
Probably.
Because
Yeah.
it's gap
Back
bridging.
in the 60s.
Yeah.
One of the things that
Man, Gene Roddenberry was just he had
He's
his
so
mind on the
forward
future.
thinking.
Yeah. He was a smart guy, you guys.
I like
One
how
of the
my
things
voice
that
raised
I
there.
was worried about when I heard about the fact that they're bringing bridges in was I thought, all right, what are they cutting, but not telling us they're cutting in order
Yeah.
to support this bridge? And
Phasers. They're cutting phasers from the
Yeah,
game.
no
So
phasers.
there's no more phasers, and also transporters are out.
too much work.
Too much work, but we have bridges now.
No.
You're gonna have to take a shuttlecraft
People are
to
panicking
someone else's ship. You dock,
panicking,
and then
the
it has
people.
a loading screen that comes up. It takes about a minute to a minute and a half, and then you're loaded onto their bridge.
No,
but,
so
but
what-
the cool part is once you're on their bridge, you can probably use emotes, so you can breakdance on the bridge. It's really worth it. I think everyone. It's a trade-off that was worthwhile.
What they said is that nothing had to be cut to add
Get
bridges.
that, Brian? Nothing.
The environmental art team
Wait, nothing?
Nothing.
was ahead of
Nothing?
schedule, so they picked a task that they felt wouldn't impact other teams, and that task was the bridges.
So wait, but what about the software development of developing
No.
the bridge?
Different team.
But so the software
Brian.
developers were that far ahead?
All they needed is an environment
What?
framework to put on top of because they'd started this work a long time
And then
ago.
you just
okay.
drop in a little code that says insert load.
Now,
change zones.
I
Yeah, because
thought
it's really super easy like that.
that's how coding works: is you click and drag.
Yeah.
Now, I thought down the road,
Oh, guys.
it'd be so awesome. Like
Oh,
if I needed
guys.
to like build a custom hypospray to be able to take a stroll down to sick bay.
I just want
or
to
if
hold
I
on,
need to
take a
upgrade
pause here.
phaser.
Take a pause here for a second. If you're interested in why Chris and Jeremy are bat beep crazy about this, tune into the next Coding with Brian, and we will discuss why that is the case. Continue, Chris.
I just think it'd be neat to be able to go to like engineering to upgrade a mechanical piece, or go to sick bay to get healed, or get
Or build a hypo spray. or
yeah,
something.
and I bet eventually they might even add something like that through expansion packs or whatnot.
maybe
That'd be
expand
kinda
on
cool.
the
Yeah.
crafting system.
go to the
that-
holodeck to train. Like if you get a new
I would
ability.
really love to see that.
Yeah, because they have like a training area right now in Champions. So
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's really neat. I'm glad to have the bridges. I'm excited. I think maybe I got a little bit of
Well, just
not
from-
so excited from Jeremy
From
over
the
here.
pictures, I'm afraid that they look a little unfinished
Dude,
and a
they
little
look
oversized.
Beyond unfinished. They don't even look like bridges. They
I
look,
disagree.
I'm going to be clear.
Now-
I love this idea.
We've only seen so far 3 shots,
And they're all
Yeah.
the
same bridge.
I think
But
they
they
look.
don't look like the same bridge.
I think they. well,
Two
they
of them
are.
look the same, and one of them looks like it was like
No.
a side room off of the bridge.
No, you can tell. I'll show
I
you.
can't tell.
You could
You
tell.
can't.
Look.
You can.
Look.
All right, show me.
All right. So
I'm not
for
buying
the
it
people
so
not watching
far.
the video version, I apologize.
We'll
The
put up some
lighting,
shots.
the
I'll have
lighting
to-
is different
Brian-
on all three
Brian,
on one of the shots.
I'm going to show you after the show because me trying to show you last time crashed wave. So I'll show you after.
Okay,
But
all right.
they're bigger.
you make your good point off the air.
They are a lot larger, but I think
People
I
won't
think
see how retarded you are.
I think they're a lot larger
called you
because
For camera purposes.
Well, and because that's what
What if you have a ton of
the
people
bridge
there?
of a big starship. You should have a big, massive bridge. They just couldn't afford to
Dude,
do that in Star Trek.
No, it's a submarine in space.
Plus, have you ever seen like the technical manuals for these things?
They're
they make
big.
No,
You
they
remember?
make the technical specifications of these bridges the same as they are in the show. in those tech manuals, which
they're already defined. So that's why I'm wondering if
these are future ships. These are 30 years down the road.
That we've seen.
These are ships that they built with breakdancing in mind.
You know what?
You gotta have room to break dance.
That's actually the only good point that I'm hearing out of this so far is I do need room to break dance on my bridges. Exactly. Otherwise, we're going to be bumping into each other. It's going to get awkward and it's going to get weird. How can you have a rave on the bridge of your Galaxy class starship without some space?
And again, this is only all one bridge. There's apparently 20 to choose from.
Well, remember when the next generation first came out and we saw the bridge of this new Galaxy class? Everyone and their mom thought, that kind of looks like it has Down syndrome. That's a little too wide. It's a little too big. It's kind of large. It grew on us, and we became accustomed to it, and we grew to love it. And but come on, you look at the sides of it. It had these huge open areas that looked like it's like it just had chipmunk cheeks. But it didn't make any sense. I'm saying
not these look more realistic.
Properly.
They have consoles everywhere. I think these bridges are more realistic.
There's these big areas where it looks like there's hallways, but they don't lead anywhere. They just look like they're just hallways between walls. So you want
them to make the bridges smaller?
I want them to make it look like Star Trek.
I think it looks like Star Trek.
That's a tall order.
I think it looks more like Star Wars than Star Trek. If you took out the L-Cars themed panels,
gloves are off.
It looks more like Star Wars than it does look like Star Trek.
I don't think so. I think it just looks like what they would have liked to have done in Star Trek.
I would like to point out that your response to it was, I don't think so. It should be, no way.
You are
this
so
is
wrong.
Totally Star Trek.
No, it's your matter of opinion. I just happen to disagree with it.
Oh yeah?
I think it looks like what they would have done if they could afford to. Like if you look at DS9, the Op Center always looked, it was too small.
Yeah.
Deep Space Nine was supposed to be a huge, massive station.
But that's what I want then. I want the reality of the shows that I experienced. I don't want a reimagining. I don't want a J.J. Abrams Star Trek to give me a game.
I mean, if you want that Star Trek canon to move forward, they got to move forward in other areas. They've got
okay with that.
They got to expand the sets and make them more advanced. They got to make the ships more modern.
I'm going to be optimistic
30
about
years
it
down the road.
Because I love the idea of bridges. So I'm going to assume that we're just not seeing the bridges of the ships that we already know and love.
Yeah, I'm going to withhold more of my judgment until we see more screens.
I'm sure they'll release more
shots. So far, the 3 shots I've seen make it look like it's not really Star Trek bridges. If you took the Star Trek uniforms and the L-Cars out, it wouldn't look like Star Trek. It would look like a generic sci-fi.
Okay.
So I'm going to wait.
All right.
I'm going to wait.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Although, I think we can state unequivocal. Oh, big word.
We all like it.
We all like the idea of bridges.
Everyone loves the idea of bridges. And it has no practical value whatsoever.
No,
but I want it so bad.
I'm totally gonna. No, yeah. we're gonna make our master plan there,
dude.
We're gonna get together, make our plans for our missions.
We're gonna be on like Ventrilo or something like that, making our master plan. It doesn't matter if all
like,
of our avatars are sitting there.
We're on my bridge. Join me on my bridge. I'll be like, I'll be right there, and I beam in.
Yeah.
I'll be like, what's up? I'm on your bridge.
And then you know what'd be great is if you could beam in breakdancing. No man, I'm just straight. If they do not have breakdancing as an emote, I'm going to freak out.
Come on,
I know there's going to be breakdancing, but I want to be able to spin around on my butt or my head or something.
Yeah, that would be good.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because my character is absolutely going to have this huge fro. It's going to be like Kid from Kid and Play or Play, which is the one that had the straight up thing with the like level.
I think it was Play.
Was it Play? Because I'm going to have that, and then I want to breakdance on the top. I want to be spinning around it.
Nice.
I'm spinning, and then I'm going to be on Ventrilo, and I'm going to be declaring how much I am spinning.
I'm going to look forward to seeing that. I got to tell you. All right, so
dude, you and everyone else.
Before we move into some beta leak information, should we talk about one thing that we've heard? Is this official or is this unofficial? But official.
Maybe it's official and unofficial.
Everyone who was a Champions pre-order,
the 6 month,
lifetimers are going to be in by the end of December.
Yeah.
That's right. This quote that I've got up here, if you want to read it, is from Stormshade, who's one of the
cryptic guys
acting as a community rep. Yeah, it's kind of an ominous name, isn't it?
We just super ominous, fantastical.
I just got the word in. I want to let you all know that we'll be sending out the last of the closed beta invitations to all Lifetime and 6 month subscribers by the end of December.
Right.
Yeah, I want to point out that a lot of people have overlooked the fact that this says by the end of. Now, by the end of December could mean
you're in next week.
It could mean an hour from now.
Yeah.
It could mean December 30th.
It could mean
right
December 30th.
Around midnight-ish. Or 31st. Yeah. However many days are in December is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
I don't pay attention to these things.
We also, just while we're talking about closed beta,
I
wanted to make a correction to I wanted to make 2 corrections to last week's episode.
Oh, right.
I actually want to say one thing. I just want to give a kudos to Cryptic for saying something about the closed beta stuff.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of hard as nails on you guys and for good reason because you screwed up. But you did a good job. You made good, and you said something. Now I know a lot of people are probably giving you a little bit of S. A little bit of capital S, and then some like a pound sign and like a little squiggly bracket, and then another like little like a hash mark or something like that. They're probably giving you a lot of that right now because for the end of December thing. But it's cool. At least you said something. And now there's clarity from Cryptic.
The end is in sight.
Keep that sort of communication up. That's what we need from Cryptic for the community.
It really is nice. It gives it just kind of at least a framework to set our expectations.
Between that announcement, actually, even though a lot of people were upset about it, it was news.
It's news.
Between that and Bridges, the community feel has started to turn around a little bit.
It's come positive again. They've done a good job.
So back to the corrections. I wanted to say one thing we mentioned is we'd heard some rumors that the Champions Online and Star Trek Online servers, the login servers, were linked and dependent on each other.
Yeah.
That appears not to be the case.
That's right. We got actually our little tip inbox, tips@jupiterbroadcasting.com. We have gotten a few things from you guys.
I just did an inhale
out there,
and it made me burp.
Awesome.
That is pretty cool.
Somebody sent me a link that I think it was apparently a dev post on the beta forums, basically confirming that the login servers are separate.
They're separate boxes, so they're not dependent on each other.
This pleases me.
And then, Jeremy, you mentioned also the European gamers. We'd mentioned last episode that we thought maybe the European people might be getting screwed because it's Pacific time for game testing.
Well, because we knew that the game windows were very small windows, but apparently they're doing one that's prime time for America West Coast, and another one that's prime time to bring in the European players.
Really?
Which is cool.
So they've set aside their time windows to allow everybody to be a part of it.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
Yeah, so those are some corrections from the leak info that we got last week.
Yes.
Man.
And we have more to share with you now.
We do. Do you want to go into that stuff now?
Yeah.
All right.
That's a good segue.
Okay. So we also know that right now the testing is a couple of hours per game period. The game's not always up and running all the time.
Right.
So if you're not in the closed beta right now, you're not really missing out on
You're
ton.
not missing much.
Though, when you think about it, maybe when the game launches, they should have that. Otherwise, I think there's a really real chance, as Chris has mentioned before, of many people losing their marriages and children and things like that.
Only let me play for a couple hours.
Yeah, exactly.
To help me from myself.
Like 3.5 hours per weekday, and then like 4 hours on the weekend. So it's still kind of excessive.
That way I don't alienate my son
and you still can maybe hold a job.
You'll actually notice when your wife starts packing her bags.
Cryptic, can we maybe work something out there?
Yeah.
Maybe we just put a limiter on my account.
We'll call it the first MMO that's keeps families together.
All right, now I don't know. There's a couple of things in here that might be a little spoilerish, and I'm not sure if we should cover those.
Well,
Why
one of them we've already mentioned, that there will be Borg in the tutorial.
That's not really a spoiler.
Yeah. Well, we mentioned it.
They're going to play it in the game. Come on.
And it's right off the bat.
But all right.
It's
the
not
Borg
like
in
this
the
is a
tutorial.
movie, guys. This is a video game.
The Borg in
it's
the
an exciting video
tutorial
game.
are weak
I
enough
know.
that they're in your tutorial mission.
Yeah, so
now,
come on.
obviously, you don't
And there is a story reason why you can take them into the tutorial.
Yeah, that's what basically we got this week.
I love that.
Somebody's going to explain why the Borg are so wimpy.
Which is awesome. I mean, it means there's been a few hints of an overall story arc that we haven't gotten a lot of details on.
So,
like the tripedal aliens that can change shape, and Borg in the tutorial that are weak enough that you can take them on. There's something building that we don't really have all the pieces together.
So if in the tutorial, let's just say theoretically the Borg are wimpy. Are you hefty?
No,
You could say that.
I think it's those Borg.
And those you.
Yeah, those you, because later on you won't be that you.
So you'll be
some
extra
over some other
hefty.
you. Yes.
And they'll be wimpy. Right. Okay. I just want to make sure I understand the balance between Borg and person. Right.
All right. So one thing we have talked about.
I'm just saying that whatever reference we just made, we'd be willing to sponsor you on Stoked.
One thing we've talked about.
We have?
But we're not going to show it in the show because it has not officially been released by Cryptic.
Right.
But we want to talk about it because it's a question we're getting a lot on. And that is when you go to warp, when you're leaving a system, you go into what's called an Astrometrics view.
Yeah.
And
this is something we've mentioned before. Now, this first came out during the Gamescom.
People wanted to, as soon as we mentioned it, we got questions about it immediately. Tell me more about it. We hadn't seen it.
Right.
Well, now we have seen it.
Yes, somebody sent us a video.
And it's more cool and it's more incredible than anything you're imagining out there. It's amazing.
Words really fail.
It is genius.
Yeah,
it is
even Brian
genius.
has nothing to say about it.
I thought it completely replaced the map, the level map. It doesn't. There's still a level map. It just augments that during warp, and it is such a genius way to see where your friends are at in space, to see where you need to go,
nice.
Where the random encounters can take place.
Because one of the things in Star Trek Online is you can play the storyline, or you can go off the main game mission just to go fly around, and the Genesis engine will create content for you. And the question is space is big, and if you go way off storyline, how the heck do you get back into the space system you're supposed, in the solar system you're supposed to be in? Their Astrometrics way is a 3-dimensional way to completely address that issue, and it is genius.
It really is.
It's one of the best implementations in a video game. In a video game.
If STO was going to be noted for any sort of MMO ingenuity, I think that is where they are so far shining.
Yeah.
And
Momogenuity.
Cryptic, I beg of you to release screenshots or maybe even video gameplay of this so people can see this.
People will freak the S out.
If you guys want to build some good PR for your game.
And the A out. all the capital letters with squigglies after it you can possibly think out. That's what they will freak out. They will freak those out right now.
So throw
I have
those
been thinking those out all week over this.
throw a video up somewhere. We'd be happy to host it. Throw it on one of the mini sites you give it to. Let people see that. That's going to generate great buzz.
Yes.
Holy moly.
It's awesome.
It's
insane.
Yeah. So we've got a little bit about ground combat, too, we should talk about. Ground combat includes a flanking damage bonus.
Yeah.
So if you go around and surprise somebody, right? So you go around like a rock.
Well, like basically, you're in a group of 5, you and your bridge officers or your buddies, or some of each. And if you end up, let's say you're over like here.
Jeremy, go around, take him around back.
Yeah, if you go around to the other side of him, anytime that the opponent has you and your teammates on more than one side of him, you get a flanking bonus.
Yeah.
So this adds an extra tactical element to ground combat that a lot of people have been upset that it didn't look tactical enough. They're worried about people just standing there and getting shot in the face. But this extra... Brian's computer died.
Nice. Mine just friggin' turn off.
So this little extra element of tactical combat is I think going to be great.
I blame the moon for doing this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I feel like if we didn't have the moon...
No, do we not like the moon?
We don't like the moon.
We don't like the moon either. But if we didn't have the pull of the moon, my laptop probably would have stayed on right now.
I like the moon a little more today because there's water, apparently.
Yeah, right? Water on the moon.
Dude.
Who knew?
Dude.
The sun doesn't have water.
That's right.
Maybe it does.
I don't think so.
Maybe it's like a sauna. Dude,
Yeah,
saunas
big
are pimp.
That's true. That's a good point.
Who doesn't like a sauna?
I do
Raise
like
your
a
hand
sauna.
if you hate saunas. No one raised their hand in here. Is all I'm saying.
Yep.
Sun plus water equals pimp.
Now,
Did you get that last bullet point? I added that just today.
this right here?
Yeah.
Tell me about
This is a screening that somebody sent me a screenshot that was just some in-game gameplay, but I looked at the chat log that they had up, and one of them said, ticket number 293,547 logged.
Whoa. That's a high ticket number is what you're saying.
Is that how many bugs and suggestions they've already had submitted in the beta?
Well, it's not necessarily submitted. It might be from internal testing all the way through.
And also, it's
true.
It's Star Trek fans, and it's going to be a lot of suggestions.
Yeah, that's true.
Star Trek fans are going to have a lot of
suggestions. Well, it turns out
My
about
Vulcan's ears
100,000
should
of
be longer.
those are people going, why am I not in private beta yet? That's a bug.
There's a bug, you guys, with the system.
I think I submitted 12 of those.
Actually, speaking of bugs, one of the things I'm hearing is really stable gameplay.
Yeah,
I'm hearing.
Yeah,
really
I'm hearing
stable.
the same.
So I hear a lot of content isn't finished yet, but I'm hearing the content that is done is great.
The folks that have been giving us some feedback on the closed beta, I've also been able to ask some questions of, and they've been saying the same thing, that sometimes you can try your hardest to break the game, and it simply will not break.
Wow.
Do you want to talk a little bit?
Man, that's nice.
About something we don't have a lot of details on, but maybe we can follow up in the next episode about some gameplay content that was taking place between a team of 4 people, and they entered a mission that was spec'd for a 1 player. And they entered that, and as 4-player, they just totally annihilated the bad guy.
Destroyed it in a matter of seconds.
And then there was some sort of respecking of the level, and I don't know if it was something done.
It was scaled up, and I'm not sure if it was server side or controlled by the players.
But the same 4 went back into that same mission, and then it was a totally different game.
Yeah, instead of just the single battleship that was there when it was for a single player, there were like 3 battleships, 2 cruisers, and a whole swarm of fighters that came after them when they. And
it was a much more intense battle.
Yeah,
it looked fun.
It looked great.
I want that.
Yeah.
And one of the guys, this
is what I want in my life.
One of the teammates of the one that was making the video, like, shot off at full impulse right into the whole cloud of enemies and just got destroyed. It was
he totally Leroy Jenkins.
It was epic. He did.
Yeah.
Leroy Jenkins did.
Yeah, that look. One of the things that I was a little worried about is there is and I still am a little apprehensive about it. But so when a ship is destroyed, like there's like a loot, like maybe like a weapons battery, something like that, it can leave behind.
Yeah.
But also, if you're too close to the ship when it gets destroyed, its warp core breach will give a considerable amount of damage to your ship.
Quite a bit.
I was worried that I was worried that in a really kind of a tight combat situation that I might be like the deciding factor on whether I win or not is just like getting ultra damaged from a warp core breach. It doesn't look like it does so much damage that it's going to set you far behind. Like
unless your shields have been screwed.
Yeah, if your shields are down, you can take some massive damage.
You can get screwed hardcore.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I think a lot of people are going to find a common gameplay element is redistribution of power to their shields, to their engines.
Or using certain skills to improve your shield generation and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you do have loot in space that you go and you fly over. There's a little screen that comes up that I always find annoying in MMOs where it says, pick up the loot.
Well, you can probably
play,
redistribute that somewhere else. But
now, through a lot of these videos, though, we're watching some of these private kind of beta gameplay videos that we're seeing, and
we don't know who sent them to us.
Yeah, we don't know.
Anonymous.
It's all anonymous, but we're kind of checking them out, and we're seeing the ships, and it looks really great. The combat looks awesome in space, and you see your shield slowly go down on one side, so you see the player start to turn. So they're facing another set of shields at the enemy. When they're turning to reposition themselves, and we mentioned this probably in the first or second episode, the ships are still very wobbly, in that the turning is not a smooth in space, slowly beginning to turn.
You can react a little faster.
The reaction time is fast, but it is distinctly not spaceship-like.
Mainly just in the left to right wobble.
Yeah, in the left to right wobble. Like you can start to turn, and the whole ship just kind of jerks around. Honestly, you could see the people inside the ship just flying up into the ceilings and all sorts of crap.
Brian, there's no gravity in space.
There is inside a ship.
Seen any episode of Star Trek
ever?
Technically not right though.
But they flop all over the place when the ship wiggles. They
the
flop.
inertial dampeners failing, but come on, the inertial dampeners wouldn't fail that much.
I'm telling you, if the ship is shaking back and forth like a paint shaker mixer thing,
it's not that bad.
Those suckers are going to flop up and down.
It's not as bad as that. There's a little wobble.
Close. It's pretty bad.
There's wobble. We might just have to deal with that.
It also depends, though. I noticed on the size of the ship. Smaller ships wobble more. Bigger ships wobble less.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that. That's good. That
makes sense.
It makes sense. None of them should be wobbling like that.
Because even a small
basically
ship
what
is
it
like
means is I've got to play a really
across.
huge ship in order to get the real feel of it, though.
You're going to want to play a huge ship anyway.
I know.
Well, but then again,
you know what I mean.
The objects.
I would like it to be as realistic as possible. I know it can't be super realistic. But
while we're talking about the way things look, can we talk about how amazing the planets?
Yes.
Like multi-layered, like
we can talk about that.
Like planet with clouds and
it's all parallax scrolling on. It looks
cities
awesome.
Like down there with
parallax,
you can see stuff on the planet's surface, and you can see like an atmospheric layer, and then there's the actual glow of an atmosphere.
Jeremy just gave me a really weird look for using the word parallax.
I know.
And that's not cool, man.
I have what do you call it? Vocabulary fail all the time.
You know what parallax is.
I just had vocabulary fail on the word vocabulary.
You know what parallax scrolling is, right, Jeremy? You know what that is.
Tell us what is.
You know what that is, right?
Educate me.
All right, so you remember Sonic the Hedgehog? Mm-hmm. Remember when Sonic the Hedgehog first came out? How badass it looked on the Genesis?
Because the background scrolled at
different level. That's parallax scrolling.
Okay.
Yeah. Now this isn't what that is. It just has the same kind of effect.
It's more you know.
It's like it takes that step up in the same way.
And there's some asteroids that have like glowing elements, and even some of them have burning elements. And then when you're in certain fields, there's planet rings that are misty and smoky that you can fly through, and it's just looks. The screenshots we see that we say these almost look too good.
Yeah.
That's what the game looks like.
If not
incredible.
Better.
I don't understand it.
Kudos. I mean,
kudos indeed.
It looks great.
It looks great.
Yeah.
All right. So all the negativity that was ever in my body about this game is so gone at this point. Replaced by a giant glowing fanboy with pigtails.
I apologize for all the coughing. Now, is there anything else?
We all have colds.
Is there anything we want to talk about
fine.
Before we get into the screenshots?
I got a little cold.
Well, let's just touch on some of these articles that we've found.
Okay.
I don't want to go into a lot of detail on all of these, but just basically mention them, point them out to folks, tell them why they might want to check them out.
All right, go ahead.
So the first one that we've got here is a 10-ton hammer has done another interview with Zinc. They interview him a lot.
Yeah. They do.
I almost think like they just sat down with him for 6 hours.
And they're just slowly releasing.
Yeah, probably.
Mm-hmm. So that's probably the bit. And there's more information in there about how skill systems work, and how the typical archetypes of tank, healer, DPS are not so much present in Star Trek.
They're there, but they're more blurred is kind of what the general take of the article
That's better
is.
for me.
So there's a lot of information in that article. We'll put all these in our show notes so that you can find them real easily. There's another one at 10 Ton Hammer as well. That's a lore article. This
is a good one to read.
Yeah, this is kind of an extension of the Path to 2409. It's like a more in-depth look at what's going on specifically with the Romulan conflict.
Yeah.
So how have their internal politics been shaping up now that their homeworld is destroyed and different people are vying for power and all of that. It was a really interesting read. The Star Trek nerd in me just geeked out all over that, and I love it.
And that's at
10 Ton Hammer as well.
All right.
What else?
Well, there was an MMORPG.com article about the beta access.
Yeah, this is not actually directly related to Star Trek Online.
It's a discussion about people that paid. Well, it's a discussion about people. Essentially, the implication is people that bought Champions, essentially the lifers and the 6-month subscribers, paid for beta access.
So that's what this article is about. But it also covers Funcom is doing something similar where I think if you buy a lifetime membership to Conan, I think, you get into their new beta for their upcoming game. Their closed beta for that. So they're essentially doing the same thing, only with a game that's already released.
Well, it worked great for Cryptic and Champions.
It did.
The PR backlash was bad, but
it was bad.
It probably brought in dollars by the millions.
But dollars are good, so
at
the end of the day, they like dollars more than they like bad PR. And they figure any PR is good PR.
Dollars are amazing, guys. I love
there
dollars.
was a GameStop preview of the game. What's this about? I didn't hear about this.
This was actually just another one of those like, hey, we got our hands on Star Trek Online, so let us tell you all about it.
And
but
same with GamePro and then also G4 TV. They sent Morgan Webb over to Cryptic's office and did an interview. It's kind of a quick, not really all that in depth.
It's really not that interesting.
There's some good gameplay footage. Online. There's some good gameplay footage in there as well.
There's some newer stuff.
Yeah. But this
including
one,
like a couple of
you know what? Oh, you don't have it up, Brian. I wanted you to read this.
Chris?
Well, there's like a couple of Romulan ships getting blowed up in the G4 stuff that just looks kind of cool.
Yeah, my laptop's dead. It won't turn on. It's fantastic.
Awesome.
Oh,
yeah.
I saw it.
That's sad.
I know.
I mourn its loss.
So we're using that one right now.
All right.
You go ahead and read that quote from me because I just thought that this sounded epic.
Okay, I'm starting to lose
This is just a...
I apologize if my...
Oh, well, I can read it from here.
If you can make the text bigger, we can all read it.
Hey!
I don't know if I can do that in Wave, but we'll see.
Nope,
and
that's
the
going to
answer
crash.
is no.
Boom.
Okay, so this
Everything
is a quote
down.
from the... Which one is this? GameStop? GameSpot?
GameStop.
Okay, so it's not a great article, but there's this really great quote of Space Battle, so I'll read it to you. So bringing down an enemy capital ship is all about keeping your foes within firing range while tearing up your target's shields, dropping them with tachyon fire when available, and following up with well-timed torpedo salvo that will hit home after you've dropped your enemy's shields, but before those shields have had a chance to regenerate. However, you still can't afford to keep your enemies too close, since aside from abilities like the aforementioned mines, destroyed enemy ships still go up in a fiery explosion that deals heavy damage to any nearby ships or targets.
Which is what I was talking about earlier.
The explosions can be even more dangerous in the middle of a minefield if nearby mines sustain enough damage to go off themselves. Yes.
That's so epic. I love it.
It's an interesting, and it's something that I think, it's funny because in Star Trek, it's always like, well, we could always set off the warp core. That would be a big deal. Like they were going to blow up V'ger by blowing up the warp core.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, like, they blow up ships, and that warp core gets destroyed, and nothing ever happens. And I'm always like,
I know.
What about all those antimatter pods? Shouldn't there be, like, a crap ton of antimatter sitting around?
Should be.
Star Trek Online's like, yeah, there would be, and it's going to blow up.
And they do.
Oh, it looks so good.
And it takes anywhere, based on the gameplay footage, it takes about 5 seconds after the ship is disabled.
And I got to be honest, I'm going to hate that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be fighting, and the cores are gonna go off, and I'm gonna get blowed up.
Yeah, you are.
I'm gonna get blowed up from that all the time.
Well, you're gonna get blowed up a lot, Chris.
That's just kind of your thing.
But that's gonna be one of the
Chris's
number one
MO
ways.
here.
That's gonna be one of the main ways. There's also a few new screenshots posted. I'd like to talk about those if you guys are ready.
Nah, it's no big deal.
All right,
it's probably ugly anyway.
we've got a couple different
this
ones.
first one is kind of ridiculous.
It's
and it's not working.
No.
There we go. Okay.
It's like a bullion combo guy
with like a Klingon forehead.
Yeah, and it's just a cool looking shot. I don't know. I just like
it's got a cool camera angle on it. Otherwise, it's nothing new. Really,
I think it's supposed to highlight the custom race.
Yeah, it's a very custom race. I mean, the guy's
But if you
blue
look carefully
and
at the thing that's in his right hand,
it looks like food. It looks like a can.
It looks like a can, like an energy drink or something.
Yeah.
Now
there
are a couple of screenshots that I'm actually pretty stoked about.
No, okay.
I'll leave.
Nice job there.
I'll leave. So one is just a great shot of a bird of prey. Just looks.
I like this one because it's pink.
What?
Yep.
The whole
Jeremy
background is
likes
all
this one
bright
because it's
pink.
pink.
Now this is.
But
so
behind the pink, there's a lot of crap back there.
it is.
And
So
looks
what this
cool.
is what I was talking about earlier. This is the ring of a planet.
Yeah.
They're inside and it's cloudy.
Yeah.
And there's ice and rock debris
Oh,
inside
it's so
that ring.
cool looking.
And it's a
So
Miranda
cool.
class ship firing on a Klingon ship, and we can we're
Like
kind
a
of
bird of prey.
gauging that the Miranda class is sort of the entry level ship.
Yep.
And so this is fairly early on.
One thing I want to point out about this screenshot that looks badass is where where it's hitting on the bird of prey has this great light up effect.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like the area is getting heated up, and it just looks really
You know-
cool. It isn't just like the phaser fire stops
It's very
at a certain
realistic.
point.
It's really,
It looks great.
It's very realistic, and I really dig in this game. I know we've mentioned it
Star
before.
Trek is very realistic.
I really dig in this game that.
Wait a minute, Chris. Stop talking for a second. Jeremy, you want to
laughing
repeat
at
your a-hole remark right now?
Star Trek is very realistic.
And
Why are you laughing when you
yeah,
say that?
what's funny?
It's
okay.
The future. The future doesn't. Okay, Jeremy.
It's the way of the future, Jeremy.
the way of the future.
It's the way of the future.
Now we've got
Jeremy.
an external shot of a Starfleet building here, and it's a neat building.
It looks
shot.
cool.
Yeah, it looks very next generation building.
Hey, you
It
know
looks-
what?
yeah, very
no
much so.
asteroids in that shot.
And there's a person, there's a dude there to go to scale.
Oh yeah.
So that's nice.
So it's
just-
like a
it's just-
two-story building. It's
yeah,
a
it's
neat,
just a
neat
cool-
architecture.
yeah.
All right, now here's the shot I really like
Oh.
because I think
There
this is
we
one of
go.
the first times we've seen this. You've got the big boy, the big daddy, the top of the line, Sovereign class,
Whatever.
And-
Sovereign class is jank.
and Sovereign class is currently going under a fairly epic battle with a Borg sphere and a couple other Borg parts, and it just
Those
looks
look like they
great.
might be like some sort of Borg minefield or something.
It first of all, one
Those
of the
are
things
Borg a-holes.
one of the things Brian mentioned is the lighting looks awesome.
The lighting looks great. Now, those of you might remember, like during Nemesis, that Sovereign class at the Enterprise always looked very, very dark.
Very
and it was
evil.
It almost like made the ship. Yeah, it looked like a bad guy.
Yeah.
This one doesn't look like a bad guy for once.
That's
I mean,
a
it
little
still has
heroic.
the same kind of shape. It still has
It's a
that really
little different in a few
elongated
areas.
saucer section, but it's not this dark silver. It has more of the Enterprise color scheme that we saw like in the Next Generation with the
And
Galaxy
it's being
class.
lit by like a
And
sun.
I like that. Yeah.
the star in the system's lighting it up from a certain
And there's
angle.
cool green stuff behind it. It just looks so nice. It basically it looks like a ship I'd actually want to fly, as opposed to
No.
that stupid Sovereign class
You
that
mean
was
that's,
in Nemesis.
that's not an Excelsior?
Also,
Oh, I'm gonna just be in an Excelsior
Also,
the
you
whole
know-
time,
you
but
know
this
that-
one's okay.
it's just of course it's like this, but this is something that you could see a video game maker overlooking.
Uh-huh.
That so when the engines all have streaks of light from behind them,
Right.
Yeah.
And in this shot, the impulse engines. It's not just the warp nacelles that have the
Right.
streaks of light. The impulse engines also have a streaks of
Yeah,
light.
they do.
and they extend or decrease depending on your speed.
I love that they got that.
They do.
Yeah.
Now,
So-
a lot of people have wondered if this was
looks
just to help show spatial
Speed.
awareness,
Yeah.
but actually, from the footage that we've been sent, again, thank you guys for thinking of us. There is space dust, so if you wanted to turn off the nacelle trails, if they
You'd
include that
still
option,
get a feel of,
you still
of
get
your
a feel
speed
for,
and everything. Yeah.
for how
Yeah.
things are moving around.
You also did you?
I
and
love
I
space
couldn't
dust.
tell if this was me, or if this was legitimate. I thought I noticed. I thought I noticed an asteroid pass over a ship, and a shadow be cast on the ship.
It did.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's awesome.
That
It
means
does.
that the environment is actual 3D.
It's lit
lighting
properly.
and everything. So yeah, so
That's
shadows from asteroids,
so
shadows from
cool.
other ships
Oh,
will
so
be cast
That
onto
that
the
is
things
really
behind
cool.
them.
I mean, okay, all right. Gameplay time. You fly in over somebody, and the shadow of your ship gets cast over their ship as you enter in. Oh, another thing that's neat. Speaking of just looking at ships,
I want to do that so bad.
when your ship drops out of warp when you enter a system,
Mm-hmm.
they do the typical Star Trek pan beauty shot, where it's pans on the ship flies by the camera, and then it's passed by the camera, and then off towards wherever it's going.
Right,
Like
but
the
then
typical
the camera like hooks onto the end of the ship and follows it around, just
Yeah.
like a normal game.
But it's a nice little like that Star Trek moment where it's that
Right.
beauty shot as it jumps out of warp.
You know what's great? You know that the first 100 times, hundreds of thousands of us are playing this game. All of us are going to be sitting alone in our bedrooms in our boxer shorts going, bum, 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 bum. And you know, there should be like a Guinness Book of World Records thing, because you know there will be so many people in
Yeah.
their underwear doing that at
Yeah,
the
yeah,
same
yeah.
time.
I will be.
It's the thing that joins us together as one.
Absolutely. So let's talk about a little bit. So this is an interesting one. All right, you've got Star Trek Online. Klingons are bad guys at this time.
They are.
but you've got a shot here of a Klingon dude, a warrior, in a Starfleet complex. Maybe that complex that we showed earlier,
possibly
that building we showed earlier, because the little guy, almost looked
overrun.
like a Klingon. Yeah, they're overrunning it, and I bet that's part of the mission is go down there and run the.
And this bastard Klingons.
This Federation guy sitting on the ground behind him. He looks like he's got his arms tied behind his back. Maybe
like
he's being taken hostage.
Yep.
And you're there to.
I bet we're rescue. Rescue.
Klingons
naughty
don't take
Klingons.
hostages.
Then, because I think a lot of these screenshots are linked together.
Do they?
Not usually.
Klingons don't usually take hostages.
No, they don't. But for the
in fact, I think now that I
Rogue-
think about it, I think
rogue Klingons
Worf,
do, but they usually get in trouble for it.
I think Worf is quoted as saying once, "Klingons do not take hostages."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with a slight deviation for gameplay.
Sure.
As long as they don't do it too often.
Now here we've got a screenshot of a Borg cube coming into a system, several Borg cubes, and next to the Borg cube to give the Borg
I didn't
cube
notice
scale.
there's more in the background.
Yeah.
To give the Borg cube scale is a space station.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So it's like that's a big cube because it's
a
much
big
larger
cube.
than the space station. That is some scary S right there.
Yeah.
Oh,
now those are
jeez.
not the Borg you will meet in the tutorial.
Those are not the wimpy wimpies.
No, the hefties.
Now going back to ground combat here, we've got a shot of some pretty powerful weapons.
At least they look powerful.
You've got like
They
one
look
that's
awesome.
like one in the background that's kind of a sonic pulse gun.
Yeah,
And one
it's
that's
like a
like-
standard phaser, except there's like sonic rings around it emanating out.
And then
Yeah.
they've got one that's like an interferometric magnetic pulse gun or something like that.
Wow.
Just threw that out there.
Yeah.
It looks like it's shooting like
Interferometric
plasma
energy
blobs.
matrix.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like energy plasma blobs
I
going
bet
at the
so.
other person.
Yeah, I bet you that's what
And
it
then
is.
in the front foreground, so there's three people all with their weapons, and then
and
foreground
the
there's
back two
some
are really badass looking.
totally badass, like hardcore beyond words. And then the front's just like this really skinny
Little
chick
phaser.
with a little itty bitty hand phaser. I'm just like, why is she even there? She's not helpful. Send her home. She needs to be in the kitchen making lunch for the rest of the guys for when they come back being awesome.
Man. And then there's like the guy
I
they're
just took a
fighting.
stand on that one.
The guy they're fighting might be those tripedal
It looks
shapeshifting.
it looks kind of funky alien lizardy. Yeah.
one part species 8472, two parts something we've never seen before.
Right.
Right.
Or like we kind of mentioned before, maybe just a new take on 8472.
Maybe it's just Odo.
Could be.
We don't know.
Odo just screwing with us.
I've always wanted to beat the crap out of that guy sometimes.
Really?
He annoys
The
me
constable?
sometimes. I like him. But just like I like Brian, sometimes I still want to beat the crap out of him.
Jeremy
adorable.
makes really good points.
That's adorable.
Yeah.
And then one last ground shot here.
With floaty rocks.
It's a very alien planet
Yeah,
with
floaty rocks.
with floaty rocks and these energy things around the surface of the planet.
How do rocks float?
With energy things.
Probably with these energy things. Yeah.
Yeah, you turn those off and those rocks come down.
Oh.
There's also that Star Trek where there's that whole city floating in the sky. So remember that one where there's the
Oh, yeah.
original series.
Yeah.
God.
Right. So,
Science.
I guess one thing we could mention.
It blinded us.
Maybe we should wrap with this. What do you guys think?
Sure.
Yeah, let's wrap with this one.
We've got an official box art now as part of this official system specs and the
Yep.
release date.
Yeah.
Cryptic's also released the box art. I like it.
I don't.
It looks it looks a little JJ. It's a little too, I don't know, polished.
Just to describe it real
2008
quick, it's
in
basically,
style.
it looks like a white box, but with a Star Trek insignia cutout.
Yep.
Inside the cutout is a scene where like the bottom
It's on
third to a
fire.
half is just fire.
It's ground combat. It's if
whatever.
you look at
and
it.
there's
there's
a
people in the
guy
background.
standing like a
There's
tactical guy with
there's-
his phaser out.
Yeah, there's
and then up in the
it's half
sky.
and half. It's half is space. The bottom half is ground combat, which
Right.
is the game.
Right.
Sure. You know, to be honest, I really wanted the box just to be the Star Trek Online logo.
Just
this,
like
the blue,
black
the
with
blue
the
or black
logo.
background.
That
with
would
the blue.
sell to the three of us and the people watching.
Yeah.
But then
Dude,
you could
I would
do-
buy 7 of them just to hang it on my wall.
But it's not going to sell to World of Warcraft players that maybe aren't that into Star Trek.
maybe.
yeah, but
I don't know.
they're not going to change anyway. World of Warcraft players are just going to sit around going, I made a bigger bag. And they're going to do that for like
This
8 more
doesn't
years.
upset me. This box art doesn't upset me.
No.
But I think it's
okay.
not what I would have gone with.
No, it's just a different.
I'd like to
It
see-
looks good. It's high
We know-
quality. It's just not the art direction I would have taken.
We know that there's going to be a collector's edition.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
And I don't know what the collector's edition is going to look like.
Dude,
but
it's
I bet
gotta be
a little-
like-
I bet it's
like-
a little closer to what you're talking
If
about.
it's a big
black
like
or silver
like
or
chrome
something, yeah.
lunchbox with just a Star Trek insignia on the top.
Dude, that's actually a great idea.
I
I
know.
want a Chrome Star Trek lunchbox with a
know.
game inside.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
You can have that one for free.
Yeah, take care of this.
All right. Well, that's
And
that's
we are
a great,
making
that's a ton
Cryptic
of
so much money.
a ton of info, and I want to say big thank you to everybody who's sending us tips.
Yeah.
Tips at jupiterbroadcasting.com.
It's an email address.
You can give us beta information or just news that you think is noteworthy.
Yeah, just keep in mind that you are violating your NDA by doing so. We won't discourage you, but buyer beware.
And if
it's your choice.
And we, anonymous. You can choose to be anonymous, but please. We try to fact check everything we can fact check.
And let's be cool. Like, if you're in the closed beta and under NDA and Cryptic talks to you about something and are like, please, for the love of God, don't tell anyone about this. This may not even make it into the game.
Yeah.
Use your own discretion about whether or not you actually sell it to us. Because if we randomly get stuff, we're kind of compelled to talk about it. So it's up to you guys out there.
Again,
use
it's your call.
own discretion. All right.
All right. Well, thanks so much to everybody for tuning into this week's episode of Stoked.
Oh, my.
We are every Tuesday, and you can subscribe over at jupiterbroadcasting.com. We've got HD feeds. We've got standard definition feeds. We've got audio-only feeds.
Yeah, if you just want to listen to us.
And we sometimes occasionally stream live, and we announce that over at facebook.com/JupiterBroadcasting.
It's very fancy.
And there's a very active discussion in our forum over at jupitercolony.com.
Yeah, there's a whole sub-forum there just for Stoked.
You've got it.
Crazy times, you guys.
All right, you guys, I think that wraps it up.
I do believe it does. Thanks again, everybody, for hanging out with us, and we'll see you all
See you next week.
Next week.